All right, next on the program here on RT, to the International Criminal Court we go, where amid the body's charges against the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, 18 whistleblowers have come forward documenting a massive trove of cash payments being made in secret. A Philippine lawyer has presented a sworn affidavit from 18 former armed services personnel of the Philippines who provided security amid the criminal investigation into President Duterte. The sworn testimony tracks bribes to foreign investigators with suitcases of cash covertly handed to them. As a reminder, Rodrigo Duterte was arrested a year ago upon his arrival to Hong Kong and transferred to The Hague. He's accused of crimes against humanity during his war on drugs between 2011 and 2019. Well, let's get down to the crux of the issue here. Crossing live now to attorney Levy Baligod, who presented a sworn affidavit from 18 current and former Philippine Armed Service personnel tied to this case in question. This is very intriguing. Mr. Baligod, good afternoon and welcome to the program on RT International.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Rory Sochet, and good afternoon as well to all your viewers.
It's a great pleasure to have you on the program today, sir. Just so I understand, you are the attorney representing 18 individuals who made claims of delivering suitcases stuffed with cash that were allegedly for funding an ICC probe into the former president, Rodrigo Duterte. Can you please help me understand and break that down? Over to you.
Yes, these 18 former military officers were employed by former Congressman Saldico, who was the former chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations. And they were involved in the delivery of cash on several occasions to Mr. Trillanes, who was in charge with liaisoning with the ICC investigators here in the Philippines. So they know that large amount of money was delivered to Mr. Trillanes to support his collaboration with the ICC investigators here in the Philippines.
So this sounds like good old-fashioned bribery, if I'm not mistaken. So if I understand this ICC or this official working for the ICC probe was accepting suitcases of cash to further his probe into his how he wanted it to work out. Help me understand this.
No, to be fair, the 18 former soldiers did not see Mr. Trillanes actually handing money to the ICC investigators, but they know that large amounts of money were delivered to Mr. Trillanes, being the liaison of the political opponents of former President Duterte here. And then they also saw, being the security detail to the ICC investigators, that they only interviewed witnesses that were brought to them by Mr. Trillanes, and therefore it is a fair conclusion that there was no bona fide investigation that was conducted here. All their expenses, hotel accommodations, travel expenses, including the use of private vehicles owned by politicians who are publicly known as opponents of Mr. Duterte, were used by the ICC investigators. And we know that being investigators, they should not only be impartial, but should also appear to be impartial.
Yeah.
But that did not happen here in the Philippines.
All right, so if I'm getting this correct, that some of this money is coming from former political opponents of Rodrigo Duterte. They want to make sure the ICC probe hammers down on Duterte and essentially gets him out of the political picture. But after these accusations came to light, Mr. Baligod, the ICC made a statement saying it operates independently and that it is exclusively funded through the court's approved budget. What is your response to that, please?
Yes, that is the correct policy, that they should be independent. But that did not happen here in the Philippines. Yeah. They were wined and dined here. So how can they be neutral or impartial if they were hosted by known political opponents of the former president?
I see. You know, gosh, you get into politics, it gets so dirty so quickly. Now, it is worth noting here, Mr. Baligod, that The Philippines withdrew from the ICC in 2019 after the court decided to open an investigation into Duterte. So what is the court's legal jurisdiction in this case?
That is one serious problem here because the Philippines withdrew from ICC in 2018 and the ICC residual jurisdiction should have ended a year after or on March 2019. But the ICC investigators first came in the Philippines in December of 2023 or after almost 4 years when the right of action already lapsed. So I don't know how ICC derived jurisdiction when its residual jurisdiction had already lapsed.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. I appreciate that, Levy. I wanted to ask you, Duterte, when he was doing his war on drugs, I was working at CNN back during this, and I thought he did a lot of good work. I know that, some of the guys who were dealing the drugs in the Philippines, these were armed militant gangs. They had machine guns and all sorts of stuff. And Duterte was doing the right thing by trying to help society by cracking down on these narcotic gun-wielding gangs. But the problem is, Duterte became a problem in the eyes of certain Western players. I remember distinctly back in 2016, the former U.S. Secretary of State, John Kerry, he went for a lunch/dinner with Duterte at the presidential palace. And the story goes that John Kerry, the former U.S. Secretary of State, gave Duterte, or tried to give him, a suitcase with $700,000 in cash. Duterte reportedly said no. Really pissed off John Kerry. Ever since then, Duterte's been a problem. What are your thoughts?
Well, my observation about the former president is that he is not corrupt and that the drug war was a necessity to prevent the Philippines from being ruled by narco politicians, and that his warnings about killing drug lords and drug pushers in the Philippines was a statecraft necessity to discourage would-be criminals from continuing with their criminal trade. We also know that he was openly anti-American in his language, no? But he was just trying to push for an independent foreign policy because we know that up to now the USA still has a strong influence that reticulates through our bureaucracy.
But it's not just in the Philippines. I think that kind of American influence spans many governments around the world. Kind of disturbing to say it, but I think it's quite true. Do you think the Philippines, do you think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place? You go back to the presidency of Duterte. We know that America wanted the Philippines to take a certain hard line against China. And Manila is trying to play both sides. Well, we want to be friendly with China. We want to be friendly with America. But maybe one or two are asking us to choose sides. Does that make any sense to you, Levy?
Yeah, because the Philippines sits in a strategic location, which is part of the first island chain, as they say. But there is a government template where the Philippines should deal with China economically and deal with America militarily to balance both hegemons, so to speak. But that did not work because the U.S. would not want the Philippines to build a stronger relationship, economic relationship with China. And also China would not want the Philippines to have a strong military relationship with the U.S.
Yeah.
So that is true. We are between the devil and the deep blue sea, or between Sheila and Charides, no?
Yeah.
But, our foreign policymakers in the Philippines should realize that the Philippines can be both friends to China and the U.S. And the Philippines being a strategic geographically strategic in the South China Sea is already an obsolete concept when it comes to geopolitics, if I may say.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. For the Philippines, really stuck between a rock and a hard place, between two of the biggest global players on the block. I think it's a very intriguing and somewhat disconcerting position to be in. But we're so grateful for your time. We're also grateful, frankly, for the former presidency of Rodrigo Duterte. But for the meantime, Philippine lawyer Levi Baligod, it's so good to have you on the program to shed some light on this complicated story. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rory.
Thank you very much.